is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to you with a quick video. I wanted to let you guys know I got some new merchandise available, not just t-shirt anymore. I got different type of t-shirt, different type of shirts and logos that you can purchase on my spread shirt, and also hoodies now. We have expanded and added more to the channel and more merchandise for the brand. Thanks for supporting. It will be in the description and the links will be in the comment section below. Thanks for helping me and supporting the movement. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis. I'm going to check out the video. What's good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to y'all with another video. We're going to talk about Trevor Ariza and the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns has announced that they're going to start putting Trevor Ariza on a trade block because they haven't won that many games and they got off to a terrible start. It don't look like they're going to make the playoffs, even with some changes that they made. And they still do need a point guard too, so I can definitely see why they would try to trade Trevor Ariza, a guy that you have multiple players at that position, like obviously Mikal Bridges and Josh Jackson and TJ Warren. I can go on and on and on about that. Plus, you got to take in consideration if they have a top 10 pick, majority of all the players in this draft are forwards. It's not really a franchise-changing point guard in this upcoming draft. Plus, you can get trade value for him. Because if you buy out Trevor Ariza, yeah, you get the cap space back. Yeah, you get the roster space. But if you trade Trevor Ariza, you can get a first or a second round pick. That's better than just letting him go for a buyout spot, because you get the roster space and you get the cap off your books, which is going to happen anyway because it's expiring, but you get a pick in return. So I can definitely see Trevor Ariza being a hot commodity, because one thing you always hear about Trevor Ariza is that the Rockets, they should never let him go because he can shoot the three. He's a glue guy. He does the dirty work. He gets the steals. He gets the rebound. He guards his position. He can switch on point guard, shooting guard, small forwards, and some power forwards, depending on who's playing that position. That's a versatile forward. That's what you need. Right now in the NBA is modern day forwards that can play multiple positions, shoot the three, and be able to get out in transition. And Trevor Ariza mastered that role. But with Phoenix having the abundance of players at that position, and a lot of players are young, and now they're trying to build around them because they lost so many games. They were trying to go for a playoff spot, and now they're the worst team in the NBA. They say, hey, Trevor Ariza, we're not going to waste your talent. We want to get rid of you right now, so that way we can get a pick and you can get to a team that can contend right now, even if we got to give you up for a second or a late first round pick to a contender, which is fine because it's better than just getting nothing but a roster spot. So you get the roster spot and the cap off your books, and then you also can get a high or mid to low first or second round pick. But at the same time, even if you don't get that, you can get a quality player in return, because Phoenix got a lot of cap space. They can take a gamble on a young player that they might like for that $15 million that Trevor Ariza is owed, because most teams got to give up something in return because they can't really absorb the whole Trevor Ariza $15 million contract, because most of them teams that's going to trade for Trevor Ariza is going to be playoff contenders, which means they are some of the highest paid teams. So I'm going to give you guys a top 5 teams that can trade for Trevor Ariza and that probably should. And some of these teams don't really need a 3-and-D guy. It's just a preference that they should. And this is not in any order. This is not a 1 through 5 or the number one team. This is just 5 teams in general that can trade for Trevor Ariza. Number 5, Philly. I know they got Jimmy Butler, and I know they have J.J. Redick. But the thing about Philly is, if you ever watch a Philly game, one of their worst things is J.J. Redick, because the teams do, like they did Carmelo, they pick on J.J. Redick time and time again defensively. They know that that's their weakest defender. They know that he cannot guard the shooting guard or other positions, and teams like to bully him and pick on him and continue to utilize him as a weakness and continue to go at him. And one thing about that is Jimmy Butler can slide back to the 2 position, which he has been able to play multiple times in his career, and you can put Trevor Ariza at the 3, giving you 2 perimeter defenders that can switch everything, athletic, long, and can hit threes. Jimmy Butler is not a knockdown 3-point shooter, but he's shooting decent from 3 from his career. Not great, not amazing, but he is fine from three, and he takes his time and picks the threes that he wants to shoot. He's not 3-point happy like Trevor Ariza, but Trevor Ariza gives him that versatility of being able to switch everything, still being able to hit threes and get out in transition and do the dirty work, and you can still continue to have Jimmy Butler in your starting lineup, and then you don't have to worry about J.J. Redick being a defensive liability, especially in the playoffs when they can, focus on your weaknesses and try to expose them. And if you have a guy like Trevor Ariza, then you really don't have to worry about that. And you can still play Wilson Chandler sometimes at the four, depending on if you want to do that or not. Or you can even play all three of them at the same time, depending if you play in a team like Boston or the Golden State Warriors. You have a small ball four. You don't really have to make that much changes besides take J.J. Redick out the lineup, and it gives you a better matchup if you can do that, because now you have a better lineup and a more versatility against teams like Boston and Golden State if you're able to make that trade. But you might have to give up a piece you might not want to do, and that's the only problem with Finley doing it. They're already thin, but this will help them in the playoffs more. Hornets, the only reason I say Hornets is because they have forwards and guards, but none of them are spectacular three-point shooters, and that's why I had them on this list. If they want to keep Kemba and they want to contend, Trevor Ariza would be a good fit for them because most of their guys cannot give you consistent outside shooting. Plus, Trevor Ariza can play some forward, like I said before, and he can do exactly what Marvin Williams does, and that gives them more depth depending on who they give up to get Trevor Ariza and what they give up for Trevor Ariza. And it will show that you still trying to win with Kemba, which means he might stay in free agency if you make this move. Pelicans, this is a team that should be number one. They need Trevor Ariza bad. Anytime you depending on guys as bench players and guys that's definitely not small forwards height wise, you know that you're desperate for a guy like Trevor Ariza. And the fact that out of all things, they're depending on Wesley Johnson, a guy that has been a bust, a guy that hasn't played that well no matter where he went. He's been in and out of the league. 1 minute he's in, 1 minute he's out. He's a player that desperate teams call for. They have Solomon Hill. They have players like Julius Randle that can play multiple positions. But if you really look at this roster, they don't really have a player that can really do what Trevor Ariza can do outside of Wesley Johnson. And obviously Trevor Ariza is significantly better than Wesley Johnson. And, he's a better three-point shooter. He's a significantly better three-point shooter. He's a decent rebounder. And he has more effort and energy than a guy like Wesley Johnson. This would be mostly a perfect fit because Julius Randle and Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday, when they have the proper spacing, they can really kill you on the inside. And with Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis' ability to be real mismatches on the offensive end, having another three-point shooter out there is basically, the ideal situation for them. Because if you kick out or double team or trap, especially in the pick and roll, they have a guy that they can trust and know they can knock down that three-point shot. Plus, like I said, Trevor Ariza is a significantly better defender than Wesley Johnson and a more consistent player, and he can do more in general than a guy like Wesley Johnson, we need something right now, or you got a major injury and you need somebody that can play right then and there. So Wesley Johnson is a last resort. Like we need Wesley Johnson because we cannot fill this position. And I think Trevor Ariza would give them an upgrade over Wesley Johnson and make them more competitive and more of a contender in the West. Maybe even guarantees them getting out of the first round like they did last year. With Wesley Johnson, I doubt that they get out of the first round with just the team that they have right now. But if they get Trevor Ariza, I think that bumps them up to being a team that can definitely compete with anybody like they can now. But it'll give them an edge than not having them. Number two that I have is obviously the Houston Rockets. People have been talking about they made a mistake. They made a mistake not paying Trevor Ariza. They made a mistake letting him walk to Phoenix. People have been saying that all year. You can't go nowhere without hearing it. And that's obvious for Houston to try to make a trade to get Trevor Ariza to come back home and get them back to being one of the best teams in the Western Conference like they was last year, which was the best team in Western Conference and the best team in the NBA. And Trevor Ariza and some other players was a small percentage of players that left the team after winning that many games, and we're starting to see the difference between this year team and last year team, and they haven't been able to really replace Trevor Ariza, and it forces them to play Eric Gordon at the three. He's not tall enough. He's been a streaky shooter, and he's been best served coming off the bench. And if you can have Trevor Ariza at that three position and have Eric Gordon be able to run the offense through him on the bench and still be able to give you that three-point shooting when you need it, that's better than desperately needing him to fill that position and desperately needing him to step up. It gives you more depth because now Eric Gordon is on the bench, and it gives you his best strength, which is being able to score and create his own shot a lot off the bench. And that's what he was able to do the last couple years, and he hasn't been able to do that this year because they need him to do significantly more because they don't have the depth. So adding Trevor Ariza to this team might cost them a lot of their future, but at the same time, this is a trade that they need to do because they need that wing spot and they need a defender. They need to be able to switch with him and PJ Tucker on that perimeter, and they still need the three-point shooting, and it adds another position solved, and that means this is a position that they have filled and they have a quality player at that position, and that's something that they don't have right now. And number one on my list is Detroit Pistons. This team needs floor spacing bad, and they need the defense bad too. And I feel like this team, honestly and truthfully, Stanley Johnson hasn't been what they thought he would be. I liked it, Stanley Johnson. I liked it, his confidence. I liked it, his swagger. I liked it, his game, but he hasn't been able to shoot. Some games he's hot, most games he's cold. Reggie Bullock been pretty good from three, but he's not a great defender. In that sense, he's better than what they didn't have him earlier this season, and I see a significant difference with him this season. So one thing I definitely say about Reggie Bullock, he is a good player, but he's not going to be enough. They need him to have more depth, and he is shooting 35 from three, but I don't know if you can really depend on Reggie Bullock as your only shooter outside of Langston Galloway, who's too short and too small. And then you also have Stanley Johnson, who hasn't really been able to shoot that well. And other than that, you have nothing else that has the height to play the small forward position without being a mismatch. So I think Detroit, they were trying to get in on Kyle Korver. They ended up missing that opportunity. But if they can make a run at Trevor Ariza, he will give everything I listed before, but he will also make them significantly better because he'll give them more floor spacing for guys like Reggie Jackson, Andre Drummond, and Blake Griffin. And that's because he can hit the three, and that will give them more options in the pick and roll. That'll give them more playmaking ability because he'll be able to space out that floor, and that'll give them a defender at that position, something that they don't have and something that they will need with guys like Kyrie Irving and Kawhi Leonard and other players in the East. You need a solid perimeter defender, especially a defender that you're comfortable allowing to switch, and you get a consistent three-point shooter at that position, something that you don't have at right now. So I think those are the top five teams that can trade for Trevor Ariza, whether they give up a first-round pick or a second-round pick, or they give up a couple picks and a bad contract in return, because Phoenix, honestly and truthfully, they rather have the picks, but if they got to take a bad contract back, I don't think they will really care because they have aspiring contracts this year. Plus, they still have the cap space, so they can take a bad contract just to get a couple picks in return because they're not going to really be doing anything these next couple years. DeAndre Ayton has to develop. Mikal Bridges has to develop. Josh Jackson has to develop. Dragon Bender has to develop. They're not in win-now mode, so they don't really need a player to take them over the top right now. And if they can get a point guard in return, that will be even better because then they don't have to use Devin Booker on every play, and he has to fight through all these screens and all this physical contact, which has been getting him injured because he have a point guard that can set up Ayton and get him some spot-up shots, making it easier for a guy like Devin Booker because he doesn't have to create every single play, every single possession because he has a point guard that can set up the rest of his teammates, including him. And I think that that's something that they definitely should look into, especially in the G League and Summer League next year, or even in the NBA draft, is trying to find somebody that can mesh with Bridges and obviously Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. But all five of these teams I can definitely see trying to make a trade to get better and trying to go in on a championship run to probably beat the Golden State Warriors. And a lot of these teams, they need this player to get them to that next level, to be higher than other teams that's currently above them, or that can put them on pace with other teams that's currently above them right now. And having this player, Trevor Ariza, can definitely take a team to another level, especially teams like the Pelicans and the Pistons and the Hornets that need the floor spacing, but it also can make the Rockets a lot better because now they get something that they don't have, which is size, length, defense, and three-point shooting, and that's something that the Pelicans, the Houston Rockets, Detroit Pistons need right now. Philly and the Hornets might not need it desperately, but I think the other three teams definitely do. Check out my website, analysisplayground.com. Link will be in the description in the comment section below. Check out my Facebook page, analysisplayground.com. Link will be in the description in the comment section below. Also, check out my Spreadshirt. There you can find t-shirts, sweaters, and hoodies, and other merchandise on my Spreadshirt. Thanks for supporting the movement. Thanks for supporting the brand. Also, check out my older videos. I do breakdowns when I actually break down real footage of rookies and other NBA players and break down their games and how they can improve. Check those out. I got playlists of those on my channel. So check out my rookie breakdowns and my NBA breakdowns, Quinn Wade basketball analysis. I'm going. I enjoy making these videos. You guys enjoy watching. That's why I continue to go. Quinn Wade basketball analysis. I'm going. Let me know what you guys think of Trevor Ariza.